Good morning, everyone. I hope today we will have a good connection and also we will do an interview with JC Cervantes for the newest book, The Storm Runner, that been published in Indonesia. Maybe it's just like 2 weeks, yes, if I'm not mistaken. Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm sorry. I have to mute for the YouTube channel. Okay. So today, before we started our conversation with Jen, like I told you before, okay. So we will make games, Kahoot games. Actually, Jen, you can also play with us if you want to.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I cannot because the game is in Indonesian. I'm sorry. but I forget. We already. But you can. Yeah. We will. So it is just for those who can sing Indonesian. Yeah, I'm sorry. I will play it first in my Kahoot. All right. Wait. So are you ready, guys? You can. Wait, I have to share screen first. All right. So this is the games. You can enter the game pin to your device. So the game will be about the Storm Runner and also about Mizan Fantasy, our publishing house. Okay, Neza. Only Neza? Gak ada yang mau dapet ini nih. Come on. You will get this one. For those who can win this Kahoot games, you can win the great. Oke, caranya itu. Oke, wait a minute. Alright. Caranya itu nanti tinggal masukin pinnya ya. You just have to enter the pin. Open the browser kahoot.it on your browser, and then you have to put the pin, yeah, 2621621, and enter the nickname so you can join this game. All right, 3, 5, 4. Okay. Mean God? Who is Mean God? All right. Okay. Join, yeah. Mean God, oh miminnya Rio dan first. Okay. Kita tunggu 1 menit ya. We will wait another 1 minute to start the game. Gak apa-apa kalau misalnya sedikit juga berarti nanti akan ada apa sedikit iniannya. Why you cannot join? Why you cannot join, Okta? Please open on the browser kahoot.it. Oh, having bad connection. Okay. All right then. I'm sorry you cannot join. It's okay lah ya. All right, only 6 person. Yeah, still trying. All right. Good luck, good luck. Good luck with your connection. Okay. We will start now, yeah. Get ready. The interactive book talk Storm Runner quiz. Who is the writer of the Storm Runner? Oh, it's very easy. It's super easy. Is there anyone who... Wah! Ada yang salah. Next. Who will be the winner? Oh, who is? Oh, okay. Next question. True or false? Is this dog or okay. Banyak yang benar ya. Next. Let's see. Okay. Oh. What's the name of the God of Death and the Maya? Not bad, not bad. For the next. All right. What kind of mythology that in Storm Runner novel? Egypt, Greece, Mayan, Rome. Okay, the answer is Mayan. Wow, mean God menyusul, tapi masih ada all. True or false? Behind the same house, there is a volcano. True or false? Ada nggak bisa jawab? Satu orang lagi. Oke. Ini gampang ya. Oke. The answer is true. Ini benar semua. Alright. Next. Ini pertanyaan tambahan dari Mindy. Oke. Benar semua, luar biasa. The next question is true or false? Oke, masih ada yang jawab ini. Next. Masih ada 2 lagi ya. Maaf ya, ini pertanyaannya yang bikin Min jadinya dia agak narsis gitu. Yang jawabnya pada salah semua lagi. Apa judul novel yang akan terbit? Okay. And the last one. I think we have a winner already. Ini agak membingungkan. Tapi kita lihat ya. Okay, and the winner is Min God, number 3, Neza, number 2, number 2, and the ultimate winner is, oh, applause for all. Selamat ya, all. nanti dihubungi sama Minbin atau boleh DM nanti ke ininya. Dan di sini aja lewat chat juga nggak apa-apa. Okay, so we are ready to interview with you, Jen. Wait, I have to. All right. Sorry for this. Maybe you cannot understand all of our conversation. So, okay. How are you again?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm very good. And you can say hi to our readers here in Indonesia and maybe let you introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am JC Cervantes, and I am the author of the Stormrunner trilogy. After the Stormrunner, Firekeeper is the second book, and Shadowcrosser is the third book. I have several books coming out over the next few years, and I think at least 5.
Wow.
Come out next year, and then I am doing a spin-off of the Stormrunner with a really character. She's just really close to my heart. And if you haven't read the Firekeeper yet, I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't tell you. And I'm talking to you tonight. It's nighttime for me. From New Mexico in the United States, and it is a little bit after 8 p.m. here. So it's usually my reading tea time, getting ready to go to bed. I like to go to bed kind of early. But I know that we had some glitches in the Instagram Live, and I felt really bad about that. And I didn't want readers to be disappointed. So I just wanted to have the opportunity to talk to you all and answer any questions that you might have, and just have a little conversation.
All right, thank you. I think today we will have a great conversation. And for the readers, for those who want to talk and maybe ask the question to Jen, I think you can drop your question to our chat, yeah? And later, Jen maybe can answer the question from the readers, yeah? All right then. Maybe for the first, I want to ask about how can you end up as the writer of the Rick Riordan first. Rick Riordan Presents.
Yeah, so I have a nasty little mosquito that got in here. So I'm doing this I'm just waving the mosquito away, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Right by. So I had written one book prior to this, and here in the United States, if you go the traditional route of publishing, you generally have a literary agent, and that literary agent sells your work to a publisher. Not always the case, but when you're talking about the big 5 publishers, that's standard. So Disney had put out a call to agents, to agented writers, to share a proposal of a mythology that they were familiar with, that they grew up with, that was part of their cultural heritage, because Rick and Disney had partnered to create this incredible platform for a very diverse group of writers from around the world to share their own cultures and mythologies. And so I wrote the first 3 chapters and a proposal, and I thought, I probably will never hear back. And the next day I got a call, and I could not have been more thrilled. And it was my agent letting me know that the editor at Disney, Steph Lurie, who's amazing, and Rick had both read the pages and liked them. And that was that. And then it just turned into this really incredible adventure. And I feel so lucky to get to work with such an amazing creative team.
And at the first, you wrote this proposal for the only a single book or on trilogy?
No, only for a single book. Okay. And this is based off of stories that I grew up with, mainly Apush, which is why he is actually going to be in all 3 books. Spoiler. Living here in New Mexico, I was born and raised in California, and I now live here in New Mexico. And I live up on this, it's actually kind of a hill. And then from the hill, you can see the city. And then beyond the city is this green ribbon of a valley with the Rio Grande River. And beyond the river is a mesa. And on the mesa, we have these dormant volcanoes. So this idea about Zane came to me because I was sitting out on our portal one night, which is a porch here. and the back portal. And I was looking out in the distance and I thought, what are all those things? And my husband was born and raised here. So he said, well, those are dormant volcanoes. So we went out and took a look at them, and they're kind of hard to get to, but I had no idea that even existed. They were just beautiful formations. And then like all my stories start with what if. I thought, what if a little boy lived out there? And what if something really dark and dangerous was lurking inside of that volcano? And what would that story look like and feel like? And that was the beginning of Zane.
Wow. And speaking about Zane, how can you create the character with the physical disability? Maybe you can another reason behind that character.
So, writers get this question a lot in terms of how do you develop a character, especially from other writers. They want, how do we create characters so that they have their own character arc and that they're developed and that they don't feel very, two-dimensional. They're more three-dimensional, fully fleshed human beings. And my characters, we all have our Achilles heel as writers. And there are things that I just struggle so much with. Characters is not one of them. And so my characters really do come to me kind of fully formed. And this is how Zane came to me. And I struggled against it. And I didn't want him to have this physical disability. And here's what's really interesting. I think that as writers, any artist, whether you're a musician or a painter or a writer or whatever, whenever you're creating something, I think that there's a flow of energy that we can't see. And that somehow we tap into that. And it's about instinct, like your gut instinct to go with something. Because if I stay up here, I can't get to the heart of the story. And so that's how Zane came to me. And I have fought with my characters in the past thinking, no, I want you to be like this. I want you to say this. I want you to dress like this. I want you to do this. And it just never works out. But when I let my characters say and do and be who they are naturally, then it always serves the story so much better. So I finally gave in and I said, okay, if that's who you're going to be, then we're going to work with this. And that's who you're going to be. And I knew I didn't want that disability to define Zane in any way. And it ended up working out so beautifully with the plot in terms of who his godly parent is. And again, that was pure magic. That was not intentional or planned.
So I think that you read the story, it's driven by character or driven by the plot itself?
I think that there's a little bit of both. I think that you have to have really strong characters, because if you don't have that, if your readers don't care about your characters, I don't care how good your plot is, it's going to fall apart. But if you give me a book or a movie or a TV show and I love the characters, I fall in love with them, I don't care what the plot is, I'll follow them. So I think character trumps plot.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, maybe is there any difficulty for you when you write this story?
Oh yeah.
So what kind of difficulties maybe?
So one of the difficulties that I came across is I was born and raised on the Mexican border and near Tijuana. And my grandmother told me all of these stories growing up, and I loved them. And I can remember going into my library as a child at school and asking for any books on Maya or Aztec mythology, and being so disappointed when the librarian told me, we have, Greek, Roman, maybe some Egyptian. That's pretty much it. And so as a young child of, 8 years old, I'm thinking, well, these stories just aren't important, because if they were important, they would be in a book. And so that disappointment stayed with me, I think, for a while. And I think that anyone who is marginalized in any way can sometimes feel on the outside of mainstream media. And so that's all to say that when I started the research for this book, when I knew that it was going to become a book, I was really surprised, because I read a lot of texts, a lot of different books, and they had competing views. And so I couldn't find books that had cohesive narratives. And the problem is that this ancient civilization was really brought to its knees in many ways because of colonization, because of the Spanish. And so when the Spanish came into this region, into the Mesoamerican region, they destroyed all the artifacts. They destroyed, you know, because the Maya were really advanced engineers and writers and astronomers and artists, and all of that was gone. And so all we have are some, they're really half formed, not even that. And they're called codices because the Maya used to, they would write on, it was kind of a paper, but it was like a tree bark, and it was a trifold. And so there are 5 codices that they have found, and we're still discovering more and more and more, because this civilization was not an empire the way the Romans or the Greeks were. They were individual city-states ruled by different kings and queens. And so because it was such a vast region and the jungles have now grown over, it's taken a lot. And then you can imagine trying to go through the glyphs during the 20th century when archaeologists started to uncover a lot of the pyramids. Trying to decode those was really challenging. So that's all to say that it was really hard for me to pull together, combining what my grandmother told me, and then really very Americanized, anglicized views of this civilization's history. So that's one thing. And then the other thing, it's just hard to write a book. I mean, it's not easy. There are days where you're filled with doubt and you think, oh my gosh, this is boring. It's not good. I don't like the character. I don't know where it's going. What am I thinking? And the self-doubt is real, and it happens to all of us. I'm now working on, I don't know, my 9th or 10th novel. And I still feel that way. Every time I sit down to write a book, I think they're going to find out I can't really write. Like someday someone's going to find out that I just really can't do this. So that's a struggle too. And I think I think that's natural for any artist. I mean, I don't know that you ever feel like I've arrived, right? And I've talked to a lot of veteran writers, and they say every time I sit down, it's hard, every single time. So I think that's common.
But interesting. I mean, like, yeah, you can. We know that you have a lot of research, and then maybe you can put this research in another stories, because I think why did you choose the middle grade genre for these stories? And maybe you can put in another, maybe I don't know, another fiction, another fantasy, or maybe I don't know, because this is like what did you did in your research is in there. It's real. Yeah, the myth. Yeah, we know it's myth, but maybe it's based on maybe something real in the ancient. Maybe do you have any I don't know future works maybe about another thing in this for some research that you already have for this book?
So the spinoff that I'm doing is there's going to be more Aztec mythology, and it's based on the 9 modes of night. And I really like, and I don't want to give too much away. The book doesn't come out until 2023, but I've actually written it. I think I have 2 more chapters to write. And I love this idea of these lords of the night and the different powers and symbolism that they have in the Aztec culture. And so I took something that is in the Storm Runner series, and I was able to pull some of those threads and pieces that when I was writing the Storm Runner, I thought, I really want to explore this more, kind of like what you were just saying. Yeah. You know, I really want to explore this more. This would be so interesting. And so now I can finally use that and it's going to be a duology. It's going to be 2 books. And then, and I can't say too much about this, but I came across a myth by complete accident. And I think it's going to be a young adult novel. And it is this goddess, and it's this love story between he's the dragon, serpent god, and this beautiful goddess, and it's such a powerful love story. And I thought, I have to write that. Like, I have to write it. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll see. I have to. That's just kind of in the back of my mind.
Wow. Oh my God. Yeah, because in Indonesia, I think, yeah, we love story. Maybe you should. Everybody love story. Yeah. And after the Storm Runner is published, do you have any maybe review or from the other from the readers, from the I mean the any memorable review for from the readers that you already that you maybe okay, this is interesting, did make me cry, or yeah, something like that. Do you have after this with the Storm Runner?
I love hearing from readers, and I generally get more emails, but I actually have readers who will send handwritten letters or drawings to Disney, and then Disney forwards them to
Really?
me. Yeah. And I love those. And I've actually posted a lot of the fan art. I think it's in my Instagram stories of the fan art story or highlight. And I really, the emails and the letters I get from young readers mean so much to me. I have had, and I'm talking from all over the world, I have had young readers tell me, oh, you know, I have a physical disability. I went X, Y, and Z, and now I feel like I can do this too. And you know, they really appreciated seeing Zane in this hero role. And then readers love to give me their advice, like, can we have more of Brooks and Zane? And can you please do this? And why aren't you writing fast enough? And here's what's funny though, is I, for example, have already written the first book in the spinoff, but it doesn't come out for 2 more years. So I can't control that. And so it's not that writers that you all love, right? It's not that we're not writing fast enough. That's just the publication schedule. So yes, and those really mean a lot to me. And they always come in at a time that I really need to read them. So I really appreciate it a lot.
Okay, thank you. Ada yang mau bertanya? So maybe if you want to ask some question to Jen, please type in your chat, and you can ask Jen herself. Please come. How about the world building in this Storm Runner? Which one is merely imagination and you hope you can go to?
You know, I think that a lot of it is from my travels as well. And so I have been to some of the pyramids that I talk about, and I fictionalized them and took some artistic license. So when you get to the end of Storm Runner, and I don't know how far along readers are, so I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a pyramid that I've actually visited. And I've been there several times. And so being in this myself several times and walking through those jungles, I'm able to kind of draw on that memory on what that feels like. But, you know, when you look at the underworld as really incredibly complex as Xibalba with its 9 layers, and it has these houses, right? So mythology tells us, Maya mythology tells us that there is a jaguar house. And if a soul goes to the jaguar house, the jaguars eat you. And then there is an ice freezing house where it's nothing but cold hail. And then there's a bat house where bats kill you. And, you know, so there's all these different houses and levels. And so in thinking about that, I thought, what would that feel like? You know, what would the demons be like from a place like that? Because Xibalba, the actual translation is place of fear. So you can imagine that the Maya, this was a very real practice for them, okay? For them, it was not mythology. And for them, they're thinking, I don't want to go there. Who wants to go to the place of fear, right? After they die. And so I think utilizing that was really helpful, and just really drawing on my own imagination of what I think that would look like or feel like, and making it really readable too. I really wanted to make this book fun and light, as well as have its moments of darkness.
All right then. And speak about another character. If you have to choose one of your character in Storm Runner, what would you be? Who you want to be?
Oh, that's a really hard question. Who would I be? Well, I love Ishtab, the underworld, and she's actually in mythology not written as the underworld. But I thought, what would that be like if she kind of overthrew the patriarchy, so to say, and thought, I'm going to rule this place, and you know, she has this incredibly strong presence and attitude, and is super salty. So I really like her, but I might have to go with Brooks because who doesn't want to fly? I mean, I would love to. Wouldn't you just love that? Like if you're running late, you can just shapeshift.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool too. So probably one of them.
All right then. Oh my God. Okay, right. And how about the others? Maybe I think we have a question from Neza. Hi Jen, I'm very curious about Nawal. Is there a change that they could turn into more than one animal?
So mythology says yes, and as you, well, I don't know how far along this reader is in the Storm Runner, but so yes, the answer is yes. They can. Be so careful, and it's so funny because I wrote the Storm Runner over 4 years ago.
Okay.
And so it's hard for me to remember sometimes. And sometimes I'll do school visits and kids will say, on page 83, you said, and I'm because I don't remember that. So, I mean, since Storm, I've written 5 more books.
Yeah. Okay. Ya Nizam sudah terjawab ya. Wait a minute. Okay. Maybe another question. We were looking. Which character is the most interesting to write? What or who is the biggest inspiration for that character?
So I think all the characters are interesting to write, or I wouldn't want them in the book. But you know who is the most fun to write? Apush.
Okay.
Love writing him. He has an incredible story arc, and I'm not going to ruin it for everyone. And I don't know if it's because I grew up with those stories with him, and so it feels very memorable for me. And I don't know, but he is a blast to write.
All right.
I love writing villains, though. I really, really like writing villains.
Oh my God. It's strange, but yeah. Another question from Ines. Hi Jen, I want to ask you about when did you first realize you wanted to be a writer?
That is such a good question. So when I was young, I was a very, very early reader. I was reading at 4 years old and I devoured books. I loved them. But I come from a culture that's a very oral storytelling traditional culture. And because of that, stories were told to me. And I don't know that I thought about becoming a writer because that would have felt too big when I was young. I would have thought, oh, I have to go live in a big city and I have to be the right person and the right this and the right that. And I have to have connections. And so I don't know that I ever allowed myself, but I was a storyteller from my earliest memories, I was a storyteller. And I was always that way. It wasn't until one of my daughters asked me to write her a story when she was at school one day. And so I said, okay. And I put pen to paper and I literally, like something came alive in me. I never sat down to write a book ever. I never said I'm going to be a writer. I was always a reader. And I started writing and it was supposed to just be a story for her. And it ended up being my first book.
Okay. So it's amazing how you end up like this, yeah. But why the genre that you took is fantasy?
Because it gives me room to play. I can't imagine ever writing a strictly contemporary novel. A young adult novel coming out in April, Flirting with Fate, and it's a romance. But there are supernatural elements and magical elements, even though it's set in our world. And then I just wrote another very romantic book that is a little bit heart-wrenching that doesn't come out until 2023. Same thing. I like to play in a world of magic and possibility. It just feels more fun. It's kind of like if you went to a sandbox and I said, you get a pail and a shovel, but then the next person over here, well, you get a pail and a shovel and you get a little pony and you get blocks and you get a slot. I mean, who's going to have more fun, right? And so I like the possibility of magic. And so I think that's why I like writing fantasy. And that's why I like to read it. I have a hard time reading contemporary fiction, and you don't have to give me a lot, even a little bit of magical realism, any spec fiction. But straight up contemporary, I'm always waiting for like the the monster to show up, or, you know, some element of magic.
Okay, and then who or what kind of book that you inspire so much to become a writer?
You know, so when I was young, I'm actually talking to you tonight from my writing studio, and over here on my left, I actually just did a video about this today, and I don't know if it's going to be public or where they're going to post it, but I gave a complete tour of my writing studio. And one of the things that I talked about is all the inspiration I like to have around me, and that is in artwork and in books. The very first piece when you come into my studio it's about this big, and it's a framed old kind of fashion paper, and it's the very first chapter, well, the first page of the chapter of a book called Little Witch. Because that book, when I was young, I mean, it's so out of print. It was very old when I picked it up, and I think I was the second or third grade. I read it over and over and over, and it's about this little girl who's living with this witch and doesn't feel like she belongs and doesn't know who she is, kind of like Zane, and finds out the truth of her origins and her birthright. And I think that story always affected me. And then, of course, growing up with very classic tales like, you know, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the whole world of Narnia. I absolutely love that. And so, I mean, there were so many. And, you know, when I was young, they weren't publishing as many titles as they do today. So I was reading my parents' books. I mean, I was reading John Steinbeck, and I was reading Fitzgerald, and I was reading Hemingway, and I was reading, you know, so many of kind of those, you know, classic writers from across the pond, some of them American. And so really, I can't point to one specific book, but the one book that as a kid that I just never wanted to return to the library was The Little Witch by Anna Bennett.
Okay, Little Witch, noted. I will look up for this book. And another question from Neza. I want to write a fantasy mythology novel like you. How to get started? I'm really scared if the story doesn't match up to other people's imagination. How about that?
Well, I love this question so much because we all feel that way. Okay, this person, tell me the name of the person again.
Neza.
Neza. So Neza, I will tell you that read a lot in your genre, but don't just read in your genre, read in many genres, okay? And read in different age categories, because I think what happens is we're all wired for story. And so as you're reading, your mind is processing those character arcs and that story arc, and it's processing those pinch points, right? Those moments of crisis and conflict, because we have to have those in the story, right? And if we don't have those moments of conflict, then the characters can't change and the plot doesn't really go anywhere. And so that's the first thing, is to read. Secondly, don't even let it into your mind what other people are going to think, how they're going to judge it, because you're doing something that so many people want to do and never do. It is a really incredible, it's a really incredible feat to write a book. And so I applaud you that you know I want to write fantasy, and fantasy is really hard to write, I think, because there's so much more in terms of world building and rules, and what are those rules and who enforces and designs them. And the other thing is there are so many good craft books out there. And so I have a whole shelf over on this side of the studio that is nothing but craft books, and I still keep them out. I'm constantly referring to them. And then get some, friends or critique partners that will read one chapter at a time of your book, just to kind of give you feedback. This is one that I really, I love this character, but this character feels kind of flat to me, because I still work with critique partners and I get feedback all the time, and I've got to go back and revise and revise and revise. And I'll tell you, I don't know who said this, but it is the truth. The best writers are the best revisers. None of us sit down and just write beautiful poetic prose and then send it off. We labor over one word in a sentence. We labor over, a paragraph or a chapter or a scene. So just take it slow. Don't be hard on yourself, and really try hard not to let the fear and doubt get in your way, because I really think that is the ultimate devil for all creators, is the fear and the doubt.
Okay, so I just imagine, how can you what kind of style of your writings? Maybe like you have this story in your head, and then you know that okay, this will gonna be and the story is like maybe you just make like a mind map, or maybe just I just write and then I just let the story will drive me into the end. How about your writing styles?
So here in America, we call it, I think they call it a pantser or a plotter. And so a pantser is someone who sits down and wherever the story takes them is where they go. And I do that, and I always wrote myself into corners, and I could never figure out the endings to my book, and I made myself crazy. So now what I do is I have, so for Zane, I got a huge poster board with little sticky notes, and I wrote the characters. I wrote really kind of the pinch points, the points of conflict. So Zane, the inciting incident is the crash into the volcano, and then this happens, and then that happens, and then this happens, because I needed to see it visually. But every book is different. Now what I do, I cannot work on a book unless I have a very detailed synopsis, but not so detailed that there's not room for discovery. So I may have a 6-page single-spaced synopsis of the big points in the book, but like, again, I just finished this romance novel. I'm going to be turning it into my editor in a couple of weeks, and I have to read it through one more time. And that one, I had really a detailed synopsis, but there were so many surprises for me. I thought, oh my God, I had no idea this character was going to appear on the page, right? No idea he was going to do that or say that. So you still leave room for discovery. So I like to do that, but here's the thing. You do you. Whatever works for you, whatever works for you is what you should do. Anybody who tells you different, because I used that writer where I would say, oh, well, so-and-so does it like this, so that means I'm doing it wrong if I don't follow him or her. And you just have to do what works for you. And like I said, when I wrote the trilogy, I did visual poster boards. Now I do a synopsis. It just depends on what I'm working on. But I don't sit down and just start writing. That doesn't work for me.
Oh, it's a great, yeah. I think that some of authors that I knew that they also create the like you did the posters, define the character and the story, the plot, etc. And yeah, maybe it not just fit to the all writers or all authors. So we have to choose what kind of strategy or what kind of style that we have to want. Okay, so another question, maybe we have 2 questions. What was one of the most surprising things you learned in creating the Storm Runners?
The whole trilogy or just the first book?
Maybe the first book.
Oh, let's see, the most surprising thing. You know what I think surprised me the most was nothing about the characters themselves or the story, but about how much fun I had. I didn't know I liked to write villains. I didn't know that about myself. And I created the twins because they are a very highly regarded myth in Maya mythology. And we actually see it across multiple cultures, this idea of hero twins. And I wanted to turn that on its head and say, what if they weren't really heroes? Like, what if that was all a lie? And so that was a big surprise to me in writing a pooch. I love the dark, villainous, scary scenes. Totally shocked me. I just was like, oh my God, I can't believe I like to do that. But those are my favorite scenes.
Okay, another question. Is there any possibility that all the fantasy series from a lot of amazing authors in Raiden First would adapt it into the big screen in the future? Maybe you have
all of them are optioned differently, but we do have an anthology. I don't know if you've seen the Cursed Carnival.
No, not yet.
Okay, so it's an anthology and it's a collection of stories from the first 6 Rick Riordan Presents authors.
Okay.
So it's a short story for Zane. It comes out in 2 weeks and it's called The Cursed Carnival. I have a copy here somewhere. And so, that's, I think, the closest, and there's going to be like some threads through the stories that are kind of fun.
All right. So we'll, yeah, maybe in the future we'll have another good news. From Scholastica Rosa. Hey Jen, I want to ask a question. Usually we learn about myth from our parents or listen to word of mouth. How to do research about myth to get valid info?
So that I love this question because I think it's really, really important to honor as much as we can the historical accuracy. But with that said, I think that as artists, we can take that artistic license that I mentioned, and for example, Ishtar is not the goddess of the underworld, but I wanted to play with what that would look like in terms of gender roles and women and strength and them running things versus it being a patriarchy. So I think that doing the research and looking at it from primary sources, secondary sources, I watched a lot of documentaries. I interviewed a couple of Mayanists. A friend of mine speaks Nawa, so I made sure to get, because there's over 100 Mayan languages and people don't realize that there's many dialects. And so making sure that I got that right as well. But don't let that become such an overwhelming fear that you don't do it either. I think so often those of us, writers of color, feel like we have to get it exactly right and perfect. And so as someone of Mexican descent, I don't speak for all Mexicans. I don't even come close to speaking for all Mexicans. I have a very different background. I have a friend who is Mexican in Texas. We're very close. Her growing up in Texas are so different from my experiences growing up in Southern California. The food, the music, some of the words we used, completely different. And so you don't speak for one culture. I don't care if that's your culture, right? I mean, from religion to food to music to language to the different customs that you have, holidays, it can all vary. And so don't put that pressure on yourself to feel like you have to get it 100% right.
Because this is a fiction and plus it's fantasy, right? Yeah, so we can just blow our imagination, write it, and yeah. Okay, and maybe this is the I don't know, this is like a question or not. Hi JC, could I ask you to make story for me like you did to your daughter? This is from Okta. I am looking forward if you write some young adult fantasy with romance touch, since I have been lacking of romance in my real life. All right, so and I am ready to fall in love with the character you make. So yeah, you already said that you will make a story about romance in the romance touch, yeah, in the future. Maybe we will still have to wait another story from you.
Yes, so the one that I have,
Okta, thank you so much.
Here in April, and then the other one comes up, and then I'm actually working on an adult romance right now.
Okay.
And that has magic in it too. So romance is fun to write. And you know, because it always has a happy ending, and I like happy endings.
All right, we love happy ending. And yeah, I hate because if I read one book and then the character is die or maybe oh my god, I hate it. Because I yeah, we read book for our entertainment, so we will get entertained, like maybe like that. Okay, thank you so much, Jen, for this very interesting conversation with you. And thank you for the readers, the participant who will get closer to JC Cervantes. And for those who not read yet the Storm Runner, I will still promote this book. This already published in Indonesian, the Storm Runner. You can get in the bookstores or maybe online bookstores. And we can make another interview in this next the next Storm Runner, maybe, yeah. We will have another interview with you again, Jen. Thank you so much once again, and thank God the connection is very good. Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone who showed up today and for asking such amazing questions. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the book.
Then, and don't forget, we will send you this T-shirt.
I'm gonna wear it with pride. I can't wait.
Okay, you have to post it in your Instagram. Yeah. All right.
I will model it and I will post it.
Okay, thank you so much, Jen. Have a nice day. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Terima kasih semua. Iya, yang boleh, yang menang tadi juara 1, 2, 3, tolong DM ke Mizan Fantasi ya. Selamat. Terima kasih. Terima kasih sudah ikut.